Overwatch players, as I'll be covering the final balance state of all the Overwatch 1 heroes compared to their Overwatch 2 Season 1 state. My name is Karq and let's get things started.
Il est pas chaud au jeu lui? Ça dit quelque chose en plus.
As we go in order, beginning with tanks, let's talk about all the tanks.
Très bon sub DPS, ok.
All tanks gain 30% knockback resistance and 30% lower ult generation from damage taken and healing taken. Keep that in mind as we move along, beginning with D.Va. First, her
tu charges moins d'ult sur les tanks, je savais pas.
50 and has a 350 white health, 300 armor split instead of 300-300. The spread angle of her primary fire has been tightened and reduced to 3.5 degrees, which means it's a buff. Less pellets will be flying and flaring out. Defense Matrix's duration has been increased from 2 to 3 seconds, a massive buff if you ask me. Booster's damage has been increased from 10 to 25, and melee no longer cancels the boosters. This allows you to double melee in Overwatch 2 and 1 booster usage, which is much more consistent. Micro missile
Damn, okay.
From 8 to 7 seconds. And finally, her Call Mech ultimate had its cost reduced by 12%, a minor buff to help baby D.Va re-mech a little bit quicker. Doomfist has been converted 12%. Booster usage, which is much more consistent. Micro missile cooldown went down from 8 to 7 seconds, and finally her Call Mech ultimate had its cost reduced by 12%, a minor buff to help baby D.Va.
Il one shot le Call Mech?
Doomfist has been converted from a DPS to a tank. His HP was increased by 200 from 250 to 450. His damage per pellet was nerfed from 6 to 5, but the reload time was buffed to compensate from 0.65 seconds to 0.4 seconds per shot. It basically comes back a little quicker. Rocket Punch received a big damage nerf as its impact damage was reduced from 50 to 100.
Après le bump est huge maintenant.
At most. The wall impact damage was reduced from 50 to 150 to 20 to 40. Maximum charge time was reduced from 1.4 to 1 second, which is a nice buff to build it up a little quicker. Despite the damage nerfs, he can actually...
En vrai, maintenant, Doomfist, ça doit être grave agréable à jouer. Tu peux tout le temps faire ce que tu veux, genre.
And has been replaced with Power Block. Doomfist now enters a blocking stance, reducing damage taken from the front by 80% and blocking 90 total damage now causes Doom's gauntlet to be supercharged. This supercharged gauntlet empowers the next Rocket Punch to deal 50% more damage, travel 50% faster and further, and targets impacting the wall will actually now be stunned from 0.5 to 1 second, which scales with the punch charge.
Ah, ça je savais pas, c'est stylé. C'est super important qu'il joue avec sa charge en fait, du coup le...
flat ground, it goes straight, but if you do it over a ledge, you can do a slower one. In Overwatch 2, seismic slam changes depends on where you're aiming it, so you can go horizontal if aiming straight ahead, or very vertical if you're aiming high. It also
Stylé!
a large shockwave upon landing, dealing 50 flat damage. Seismic can now be cancelled as well when pressing the ability again, allowing you to carry your momentum like so. Meteor Strike, his ultimate, had its cast time reduced from 1 to 0.5 seconds, so notice it's much quicker now. The outer ring damage has been reduced from 15 to 200 at most to 15 to 100 damage at most. The inner ring at 300 damage is still unchanged, so you can still one-shot. The knockback on it has been removed in Overwatch 2. Last time reduced from 1 to 0.5 seconds, so notice it's much quicker now. The outer ring damage has been reduced from 15 to 200.
Ah, donc si c'est au milieu, tu fais quand même one shot, ok.
The inner ring at 300 damage is still unchanged, so you can still one shot. The knockback on it though has been removed in Overwatch 2, but it will now slow the movement speed of
trop nul. Ah oui, ça pue la merde.
Seconds as an added effect. Doomfist's passive, the best defense, was changed from this dark blue temp shield to green overhealth, which is actually a small buff because of their properties. Temp shields in Overwatch 1 still grant full ult charge, except for Ball, we'll talk about that later, whereas overhealth grants half the normal amount of ult charge in Overwatch 2. Junker Queen is
ça non plus je savais pas.
To the end of Overwatch 1, and here's a quick rundown. She has 425 HP. She's defined by her passive called Adrenaline Rush, where every single point of damage inflicted via a wound is directly translated to a point of healing for Junker Queen herself. Her shotgun deals 80 damage.
Ah, c'est pour ça qu'elle sustain de fou.
Her secondary fire is Jagged Blade and is a throwable knife that deals 80 damage on impact and 15 wound damage over time. If you miss the knife, however, you can inflict multiple wounds as you recall it through multiple enemies. Her Commanding Shout is a buff ability that gives Junker Queen herself 200 overhealth, while nearby allies only gain 50 overhealth. Everyone also gains 30% movement speed. Carnage is
D'accord.
this giant axe swing that deals 90 damage on impact and 40 wound damage. And finally, her Rampage is her ultimate that can deal 100 wound damage over 5 seconds per enemy hit and applies the anti-heal to all enemies.
Ça c'est super fort, je trouve.
Orisa has been completely reworked in Overwatch.
Mais c'est impossible à placer.
HP has increased from 450 to 550 with a 275 health, 275 armor split. Her primary fire, Fusion Driver, has been augmented now, in which she now fires 10 rounds of plasma projectiles per second, which deal 12 damage each. It uses a heat mechanic instead of ammo, where firing continuously increases the heat. If you overheat, you're stuck on a 3.
Ça c'est bien aussi en vrai.
She is a lot more mobile with no movement penalty anymore while firing. Her halt has been replaced with
aussi.
Javelin, which deals 60 impact damage with a brief stun. If the enemy collides on the wall, it deals 40 additional damage and are briefly stunned again. Fortify still exists, but lasts a little longer at 4.5 seconds, and now it grants 125 overhealth. It also prevents critical hits, aka headshots.
Mais le overhead, en gros les HP verts te donnent que la moitié de charge d'ulti des HP normaux en fait. Et il faut savoir qu'un tank, si tu le tapes, te donne 30% de moins de base. Donc t'as plein de multiples... Donc en fait, si t'es pas un mec qui est censé déchirer les shields, c'est pas intéressant de taper les shields en fait. Maintenant si t'es flanqueur, faut vraiment que t'ailles taper les HP en fait. C'est pour ça que tu peux plus taper Rodog pour recharger ton ult. Je me disais aussi... Ça c'est des changements que je savais pas, tu vois.
Destroys all incoming projectiles similar to a defense matrix, and can constantly knock people back. Orisa's ultimate has also been replaced with Terra Surge, where she will gain all the effects of Fortify while active, will pull nearby enemies in, and then it ramps up damage the longer you want to charge it up to a maximum of 500 damage, which is indicated in the center UI.
Les flanqueurs sont beaucoup plus axés Assassin One Clip. Ouais, mais le problème c'est que... Ouais, à part Sombra et Tracer, je vois mal qu'il peut... Et Reaper aussi, je vois mal qu'il peut bien flank, tu vois. Un Genji c'est fort, mais putain, c'est... Wow. C'est dur à jouer, hein. C'est pas, c'est ultra dur juste à avoir en setup en fait. C'est huge ça.
With 3 straight buffs, there has to be one nerf, which was its damage from 300 to 225. The last adjustment to Ryan is his Fire Strike damage, which went down from 100 to 90, but he holds 2 charges now, so that's pretty cool. Roadhog had his HP increase from 600 to 700.
Ça c'est incroyable.
Breather healing went up from 300 to 350 as well, so it stays at half his HP. Quick maths. And his ultimate Whole Hog had its function changed from a channeled ultimate to a transformation ultimate. This is a buff because it allows Roadhog to start and stop himself from firing whenever he pleases, allowing him to bypass counters like Sigma's kinetic grab.
Ça c'est vraiment insane. Ça rajoute du skill au perso en plus.
Increased from 400 to 550 with a 350 white health, 200 shield split. His experimental barrier regen rate has increased from 80 to 100 health per second. Last, his accretion damage has increased from 70 to 100, which is an incredible buff.
Je me disais aussi, il faisait super mal.
Primary fire. Winston has 50 more armor, increasing his total HP from 500 to 550. He now has a brand new secondary fire, which charges and fires a 30-meter long jolt of electricity. It deals up to 50 damage and costs 12 ammo at max charge. His bubble cooldown was reduced from 13 to 12, and his duration was reduced from 9 to 8 seconds. His ultimate, Primal Rage, also costs 21% more, which is a relatively hefty nerf. Wrecking Ball got a buff to his HP
ça, je savais pas, tu vois.
700, plus 50 to the white health, and plus 50 to armor. His Fireball knockback has been increased by 36%. Wow.
C'est huge.
Adaptive Shield increased from plus 75 to plus 100 bonus per enemy nearby, with a wider area of effect range from 8 meters to 10 meters. However, Ball in Overwatch 1 was unique because you couldn't earn any alt charge shooting as temporary shields. It has now been converted to green overhealth in Overwatch 2, which does grant half the normal rate of alt charge, making it an indirect nerf to Ball. Zarya had her HP buff from 400 to 475 with plus 50 on the white health and plus 25 on the shield. Her bubbles now share one set of cooldowns at 10 seconds per charge with 2 total charges, and she can choose to use it on herself or an ally. Bubbles duration is longer from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. However, you lose your energy faster now though, with its degeneration rate increased from 1.8 to 2.2 energy per second.
Je me disais aussi, c'est pour ça les bulles elles donnent l'impression de durer super longtemps. Maintenant c'est 2,5 secondes. C'est énorme.
Let's quickly go over the new role passive for them. All DPS heroes now gain 25% movement speed and 25% increased reload speed upon an elimination.
Quoi? Je savais même pas. Quand tu fais un kill, pendant 2,5 secondes, tu as 25 de move speed et 25 de reload speed. What? Mais je l'ai jamais ressenti. Mais c'est réel ça? Il y a un mec, il y a... Ça date de quand? 4 octobre. On est le 9.
.25% movement speed and 25% increased reload speed upon an elimination. Ashe only had one change, which was Bob's HP being nerfed from 1200 to 1000. Bastion got a rework. His recon mode damage was increased from 20 to 25. Its weapon spread was reduced from 1.2 to 0, which means no recoil. However, his fire rate is a lot slower from 8 rounds to 5 rounds per second, and the ammo count is down from 35 to 25. His configuration sentry form has been renamed to configuration assault, aka his turret form. He's now mobile, although slightly slower at a 35% move speed penalty. It lasts 6 seconds, and it goes on a 12-second cooldown afterward. While firing, he has infinite ammo, a constant weapon spread of 2 degrees, and deals 12 damage per bullet. Bastion no longer has self-repair, and it's been replaced with A36 tactical grenade. This launches a nade that bounces off walls.
Ça c'est stylé en vrai. Et c'est beaucoup plus sain que le self-heal, je trouve.
You can also do some fun rocket jumps with it. His ultimate is now called Artillery, as he no longer goes into tank form. He's locked into place and can launch 3 long-range artillery shells that deal up to 600 damage.
Ça c'est nul à chier, by the way.
And it can headshot for up to 1200 damage. Cassidy's fan
Attends, quoi?
fire rate sharp fall off, and it can headshot for up to 1200.
Attends, quoi? L'ulti de Bastion au milieu fait 600 de dégâts et tu peux headshot et faire 1200 de dégâts avec. Frérot, il envoie des obus. Est-ce qu'on parle d'headshot ou d'annihilation à ce stade? Il envoie des obus. Des obus. Comment tu headshot avec un obus? Il reste plus de corps avec lesquels headshot.
Damage. Cassidy's fan the hammer fire rate has increased by 7.5.
Ah ouais, c'est trop facile à dodge. Oui, c'est nul à chier comme ulti, mais c'est quand même impressionnant.
So, if you time it correctly, you can survive burst damage like pulse bomb, for example. The big
ça ne me fera jamais pas rire. C'est trop drôle. Ça, c'est quand même trop drôle. C'est quand même trop drôle. Thanks for the play,
change though is flashbang, which has been removed and replaced with magnetic grenade. This deals 131 damage split between 1 damage on impact, 65 splash damage,
131 de dégâts.
Direct damage to the stuck target. Deadeye's duration has increased
from 6
to 7.2 seconds, but it does cost 10% more. It also grants 40% damage reduction while channeling it, which is a nice buff. However, its damage ramp up over time has significantly changed, and it's easier to just show you a graph. In short, Overwatch 2's Deadeye is slightly stronger up until roughly 1.2 seconds, and then it gets significantly weaker over time compared to the Overwatch 1 version of it.
Ah mais c'est mieux comme ça. T'as plus de pressure plus vite. C'est pas comme si on le chargeait tout le temps et de toute façon l'ulti quand tu le laisses up c'est juste pour pressure.
Genji received no changes, but he really does benefit from the DPS roll passive a lot. Hanzo had his Storm Arrow damage nerfed from 70 to 65, which definitely affects his elimination breakpoints, especially on 200 HP targets. Junkrat had the projectile size hitbox of his grenades increase from 0.2 meters to 0.25
Bah oui, bah c'était nécessaire ça.
Now comes out at 15 per second rather than 10 meters per second, which allows you to throw it farther. For Mei, her primary fire no longer free stuns people. Instead, it now slows people for a fixed 50% slow instead of it building up over time. The slow duration itself has been reduced from 1 to 0.5 seconds. Its DPS though has significantly increased from 55 to 100,
voilà, ça a
and
été
the ammo
doublé.
has increased from 120 to 150. Her Cryo Freeze no longer removes the effects of Sigma's Gravitic Flux in that specific matchup. Her Ice Wall individual pillar health has been reduced from 400 to 250, so it's easier to break through now.
Ça c'était mérité, ça c'était mérité. En vrai, ce nerf là du wall de Mei, il était impénétrable. Et le CD est trop bas pour pouvoir le justifier, je trouve.
Pharah's reload time has shortened from 1.5 to 1.25 seconds when completely out of ammo, which is a nice small buff. Her Concussive Blast now has 30 damage on hit instead of 0, and it has additional knockback.
Ça, je savais pas.
Here's a very convincing visual with a direct knockback onto Sombra versus the splash knockback on Genji. You can really see the difference here.
Damn, okay.
Has been nerfed from 6 to 5.4 damage per pellet. His spread was also nerfed as
Farah injouable à thème, bah vas-y dire ça au rank, hein, frérot.
Sojourn is a brand new hero in Overwatch 2, and here's a quick overview. She has 200 HP and fires a projectile railgun that deals 9 damage per shot with 45 max ammo. It also generates energy, which you can see in the center of your screen, that multiplies the damage dealt on her secondary fire, which is a hit scan and can headshot. At 100 energy, the secondary fire deals 130 to the body, but 260 to the head. Her power slide is a ability that can be
260 en tête, ok.
Her Disruptor Shot is a huge AoE that slows and deals up to 210 damage in total. And her
Mais attends, mais
ultimate
quoi?
automatically charges
La grenade peut 100-0 la moitié des personnages du jeu? L'AOE, pour moi, elle a pas de raison d'avoir le slow.
Her Disruptor Shot is a huge AoE that slows and deals up to 210 damage in total.
Y a pas de raison d'avoir le slow.
Ultimate automatically charges her railgun energy to 100, and it now pierces. Soldier's damage is down quite a bit, from 20 to 18
quoi?
per huge AoE. Her ultimate automatically charges her railgun energy to 100, and it now pierces.
Ok, ouais, tu peux toucher plusieurs targets, ok.
His sprint movement speed is also down from 50 to 40%. Attack visor got changed and it now allows you to crit and headshot, so it's actually worth going for the headshots despite that aimbot. However, it no longer removes damage fall off, so visor will deal a lot less at farther ranges. Sombra had a lot of changes. First, her maximum damage has gone down from 8 to 7 per bullet, but at least her spread is 10% and improved from 2.4 to 2.16.
Ouais, t'inquiète. Le dégât a été diminué.
First, it's on a flat 4-second cooldown. Its cooldown is no longer reduced when hacking a health pack. Its cast time has increased from 0.65 to 0.85 seconds. Health pack hack duration is down from 60 to 30 seconds. And the ability lockout duration, aka the silence, has gone down from 5 to 1.75 seconds. Hack targets are now revealed through the walls for Sombra's team. Hero-specific changes include destroying Baptiste's immortality field and locking Bob out for 2 seconds and
Pardon?
Balls for Sombra's team. Hero-specific changes include destroying Baptiste's immortality field and locking Bob out for 2 seconds instead of 5. Her passive, Opportunist, allows her to deal 40% more damage on a hacked target, which is a massive buff. Her stealth fade-in time is 50% faster, and the invisibility detection radius has been increased from 2 to 4 meters, which is a nerf. That means you'll bump into enemies a little more easily. The biggest buff, however, is that you can hack while stealth, with a temporary 0.75 second reveal. EMP has also been significantly changed, and it still does what it used to do, but it no longer removes all the enemy's shield HP, but instead deals 40% of their current HP no matter what.
It smells like home here.
Yo, tac, ça mange après de moi. Donc on répète. On lui a enlevé 1 dégât par balle, mais on lui a donné 40% de dégâts sur les target hack. Et l'ulti, au lieu d'enlever les shields, maintenant, il t'enlève 40% flat de tout type de barre d'HP. En vrai, c'est justifié l'ulti? Bah non. Non. Off current HP, pas flat. C'est quand même pas justifié. 40% sur un Reinhardt full life, ça lui enlève toute l'armure. Et faut pas oublier que toutes les targets qui sont hack, toutes les targets hack, elle leur fait 40% de dégâts en plus. Et tu peux les voir à travers les walls. Le hack est nerf de fou. Le hack est buff. Où est-ce que t'as vu un nerf? Le hack est buff. Le CD est divisé par 2. Tu peux hack en fufu. Et toute ta team le voit derrière le wall. Le hack est buff. Troll pick en dépit. Mais bro, Kragi et Dafran piquent Sombra toutes les games. Vous êtes des tarés. Vous êtes des tarés.
Demetra got a lot of changes. First, her ammo has increased from 70 to 100. However, she no longer regenerates ammo when damaging barriers, which is a nerf. Her secondary fire damage has been reduced from 120 to 90 at full charge, along with the splash damage also decreasing from 60 to 45. The projectile speed has doubled though, so it's way faster from 25 to 50 meters per second.
Ah ouais, Symmetra, ces changements sont big.
Flies out a bit quicker now from 15 to 20 meters per second.
Ça, je trouve ça bien.
Slow itself per turret is down from 20 to 15%. Teleporter has received some changes, so let's start with the nerfs. First, its HP is down from 300 to 200, losing 100 HP from the blue shields. Another nerf is that its duration used to be infinite, now it's only 20 seconds. However, there are some buffs. Its deployment time has doubled, so it's much quicker from 2 to 1 second. And its cooldown of 12 seconds now begins upon placement rather than a 10-second cooldown upon destruction. Torb's rate of fire is much quicker now, with his primary fire shooting from
Torb, pareil, c'est bien, ouais.
1.82 shots per second.
Enfin, je trouve ça cool qu'ils ont pas délaissé ces champions, tu vois.
To 1.43 shots per second. Overload no longer grants armor and instead grants overhealth, which has no damage mitigation properties and still gives half ult charge, so it's a net nerf. Tracer only had her damage nerfed, but it's a big one, from 6 to 5 damage per bullet, which is a 16%.
Tracer l'a pris cher, ouais.
And the last DPS, Widowmaker, her HP is back at 200 from 175. Very cool. Before moving on to the supports, we need to talk about their new role passive. They will now self-heal 15 HP per second after 1.5 seconds of not taking any damage.
Ça, c'est huge.
Ana had her ammo increase from 12 to 15. And Overwatch 2 wants to reduce CC, so Sleep Dart's cooldown has increased from 12 to 15 seconds.
C'est huge.
Automatic Grenade's effect duration has decreased from 4 to 3 seconds.
Ça, c'est huge aussi.
Baptiste got some massive buffs in Overwatch 2.
Baptiste est super fort.
Primary fire damage is up from 24 to 25 per round.
Je regardais un mec qui était à 4K avant de lancer le stream. Le mec a joué Baptiste, il avait plus de DPS que tous ses teammates et le plus de heal de la game. Sans compter la mitigation de l'invulnérabilité.
Both are still a total of 100 HP when comparing Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, but that instant burst of HP is way more valuable. It gets even better though because that instant 50 HP heal now doubles to 100 HP flat on targets that are less than half health. Nuts.
Ça c'est huge.
Briggs Inspire passive heals 15 HP per second in both games, but it's
Baptiste c'est super dur à jouer pour le coup, je suis d'accord.
So the total healing output went down from 90 to 75 HP. Shield Bash got a ton of changes. First, the big nerf with the removal of the 0.75 second stun. However, it did come with 6 buffs. The cooldown is decreased from 7 to 5 seconds, its damage is increased from 5 to 50, the max range increased from 7 to 12 meters, the knockback itself is doubled, she is no longer halted when impacting
Bah c'est bon!
And the Inspire passive is now triggered upon hitting the bash. Rally has changed from building up armor to building up overhealth, which is technically a nerf for her because armor has damage mitigation properties. Kiriko is the newest support in Overwatch 2, and here's a quick overview. First, she fires 2 healing Ofuda papers at a time for 26 HP each and 130 HP total per cycle. These seek and follow your teammates as long as the heals were activated while your crosshair was near your teammates, so it rewards good tracking. Her damage comes from her kunais that deal 40 damage to the body and 120 to the head, and have 12 ammo. These have no fall-off damage at long ranges. Swift Step is her teleport ability that allows her to instantly reappear behind her selected teammate. Protection Suzu is a charm that heals 50 HP over 1 second, has a slight knockback, and makes allies invulnerable for 1 second, and cleanses negative effects like stuns and anti-heals. Her ultimate Kitsune Rush now summons a 20...
Le seul perso de tout le jeu à pouvoir clean Slashateur de Reynard, du coup.
25-meter Fox Spirit pathway that accelerates movement speed by 50%, attack speed by 25%, and reduces cooldowns by 3 times the speed. Oh yeah, and she can wall climb too because she trained with the Shimadas. Lucio's self-healing aura has been reduced from about 12 HP per second to 6 HP per second. However, his sound barrier was buffed because the cost has gone down by 12%, and instead of the dark blue temp shields like it was in Overwatch 1, it now grants green overhealth, which is a buff for Lucio because it now reduces ult charge gain from damaging it by 50%, whereas it had no unique properties in Overwatch 1.
Nice.
Mercy had huge changes to her Guardian Angel because using it now builds up a momentum charge meter. She can launch herself by jumping to cancel the GA, consuming the charge, and then flings in any direction she's facing, or she can go backwards relative to Mercy if you hold the backwards directional input. She can also cancel Guardian Angel at any time by using the crouch key, launching her straight up into the air. This is effectively a super jump button, and it makes it so much easier and consistent to use. Her passive, Regeneration, went from self-healing 20 HP per second after not taking damage for 1 second, to now a 50% increase in the generic support passive healing, which basically translates to 22.5 HP per second after not taking damage for 1.5 seconds.
Alors donc, merci, ce heal encore plus que les autres, ce self-heal encore plus que les autres healers, ok.
Well, which can be activated with both jump or crouch now. And this was likely added to let you dampen your new crouch super jump button by, holding the crouch button so you don't ascend as high. Moira received no changes from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 since they scrapped the necrotic orb idea from the beta. Finally for Zen, he had a nerf to his Discord orb linger duration from 3 to 2 seconds once your target is out of your line of sight. He does have a new passive called Snap Kick though, which increases his melee your line of sight. He does have a
Mais attends, mais c'est pour ça que je me fais perma-bump. Mais c'est pour ça que c'est trop dur de jouer en fait.
new passive called Snap Kick though, which increases his melee damage from 30 to 45, and it knocks enemies back for a crazy fun Sparta kick. Thanks for making it to the end here, appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I know a lot of these videos show up on your recommended feed.
Bon, très bonne vidéo, je vous l'envoie. Hop.